So check this out. Donald Trump is now deporting some of his biggest supporters, and that includes rappers, artists, musicians, famous people generally who were very vocal in their support of Donald Trump in the 2024 election and arguably helped Donald Trump win the election. Now Trump is stabbing them in the back, throwing them under the bus, and kicking them out of the country. So just take a look at this article from Politico. The headline reads, "The pro-Trump Cuban rapper about to be deported." It's one of the craziest stories I've seen recently, and let's break it all down right now. In 2021, like many Cubans and Cuban Americans that summer, Florida Senator Marco Rubio was jamming to Patria y Vida, the Grammy-winning protest anthem that became a rallying cry for dissidents in Cuba. The hip-hop song, whose title translates to Homeland and Life, directly rebuked Fidel Castro's revolutionary slogan, Patria o Muerte, Homeland or Death. That was a cause that resonated with Rubio so much that he actually introduced a law in 2023 to assist Cuba better, expanding internet service and more. But now, fast forward to 2025, Donald Trump is president, and Cuban rapper El Funky faces removal from the United States. Earlier this month, U.S. immigration authorities denied El Funky's residency application under the 1966 Cuban Adjustment Act. He has less than 30 days to leave the U.S. or face deportation and likely imprisonment in Cuba, since his music helped fuel the largest anti-government protests in Cuba in a decade. And we know this because El Funky posted this on social media. It's a photo with a cardboard cutout with SOS Cuba on the sign, and his caption reads, "I have 30 days to leave the country or I will be deported. I ask all my Cuban brothers who know my anti-communist trajectory and the congressmen of this country that more than ever, I need your support today. Greetings and blessings." And he posted this 2 weeks ago. So this has been going on for quite some time. The story is just being picked up now, which is insane. But I mean, look, it's crazy how the Trump administration has treated these people who are supportive of him. This is somebody that was vocally in support of Donald Trump, and now he has less than 30 days. And think about the position that the Trump administration is putting this guy in. Either, quote, you face deportation here in the United States, maybe you can avoid it, or you go back to Cuba and you face imprisonment and perhaps worse from the Cuban government. It's, this is what you get for supporting Donald Trump, I guess. Despite El Funky's troubles, Rubio, now the Secretary of State, has remained silent. So have other influential Cuban American figures and politicians who had embraced the hashtag Cuban Libre cause. And many of these people celebrated the song that he made and tried to submit those lyrics into the congressional record. If there's widespread awareness about his case, it hasn't yet manifested in action. His plea for help has circulated on social media, but protest petitions or high-profile interventions have yet to materialize. Even his collaborators on the song have largely stayed quiet. And I just think that this is so representative of the Republican Party today, which is Donald Trump and MAGA will use certain people and certain groups of people to get into power, to get votes, to get influence. But when it comes time to actually help these people pass policy that makes their lives better or intervene on cases where somebody is facing political persecution in a home country, they're silent. They're nowhere to be found. They fluke. That's the Trump administration. That's the Trump motto. Practically, they will use certain groups of people just to get into power. This reminds me so much of the 2024 election, where Donald Trump was speaking directly to Latino voters saying, I'm going to make the immigration system better. I'm going to restore justice and all this stuff into the country. And now, fast forward to 2025, Donald Trump is having people who supported him, people who will be politically persecuted in their country, deported. And also, he's arresting American citizens, sending ICE to these different work sites around the country, to people's homes, to people's neighborhoods, and having American citizens tackled to the ground, detained, and having to prove their citizenship for no reason to ICE agents. I mean, it is a complete reversal and a complete betrayal of all the people that Donald Trump said he would help. Now, there are certain representatives that are trying to help him. Only one so far, the only elected official to offer help, is Rep. Maria Olivia Salazar. And she said El Funky is a political refugee who deserves the full protection of U.S. immigration law. But other than that, nobody else is helping. And I think that this is a really important point from Politico. El Funky's plight is striking on several fronts. First, it's an illustration of how much Rubio has changed while serving under the Trump administration, which I think is a terrific point because Rubio has proven time and time again that he is spineless. I mean, we knew that before he entered the Trump administration, but especially now, with a case that is very personal to him, he's not doing anything about it. Second, the rapper's pending deportation is an example of how quickly Donald Trump has shifted U.S.-Cuban immigration policy. For decades, the United States actually welcomed people from Cuba who were facing persecution from Castro and people in his administration. Now we are kicking them out, throwing them under the bus. I mean, it is insane. And third, and perhaps most striking, is El Funky's attitude toward the president, whose policies pose a direct threat to his safety. Like the vast majority of Cubans living in the U.S., he fully supports Trump, saying, quote, "If I could vote, I would have voted for Trump. He's the strongest president when it comes to Cuba." I mean, look, you can bring a horse to water, you can't force them to drink, right? You could show El Funky that his safety is on the line here. It's in jeopardy because of Donald Trump and his administration. Maybe you shouldn't be supporting people like that. Maybe you shouldn't be vocal about supporting people like that, using your influence to sway public opinion. And yet he's saying, if I could have voted, I would have voted for Donald Trump. He's a strong president when it comes to Cuba, which is not even true, by the way. Once he was in Miami, he applied to adjust his legal status. This is the rapper El Funky under the CAA, which allows Cubans paroled into the U.S. to claim permanent residency after 1 year. He assumed the law still stood firmly behind him, but the ground had already shifted. Trump's first term have chipped away at the CAA by limiting parole and resuming deportations to Cuba. Then Biden introduced a humanitarian parole program for those with U.S. sponsors, but its reach was narrow. Many arrivals found themselves in bureaucratic limbo. And then after his residency application under the CAA was denied earlier this month, no reason was given, he hired a new immigration attorney and is now rushing to file an asylum claim. And under Trump 2.0, the White House has reimposed Cuba's state sponsor of terror designation, cracked down on remittances, sanctioned Cuba's medical missions abroad, and invoked the Liberated Act to expand lawsuits over confiscated property. So all of these things Donald Trump is doing to Cuba, and yet this pro-Cuban rapper is saying that he's the strongest president when it comes to Cuba, and he would have voted for Donald Trump. Makes no sense to me either. I feel like everybody at home watching this right now has their palm firmly planted on their face saying, how on earth do people think like that? And I do not know either. I mean, Joe Biden actually was good when it comes to immigration, when it came to immigration policy, especially with the CAA, and yet never got the credit he deserved. Actually insane that this is the moment we're living in. And Donald Trump is really taking a lot of heat for this on social media. Like, for example, this Republicans Against Trump account, which is huge on Twitter, wrote pro-Trump Cuban rapper El Funky is being deported from the U.S. to Cuba, where he could face prison time for helping inspire the country's largest anti-government protests through his music. Maybe people like Marco Rubio, who claim to be tough on the Cuban government, could do something to stop this. And then he the account cited the article of which we just read from Politico. But it's insane. This is where we're at. Donald Trump is deporting people who are supportive of him, people who are most certainly going to be politically persecuted if they are deported. And yet the Trump administration, Marco Rubio, and all these different Republicans in Congress do not care. They do not care even a little bit. They're not even pretending to care. Not even a little bit. So anyway, I just wanted to show you this story. I think it's insane where we are as a country, especially when it comes to all this immigration policy, but I will leave the video there. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you very much. Make sure to subscribe to the channel down below. It goes an incredibly long way. I really appreciate it. Also drop a like on the video, comment, let me know what you think about this story. I'm excited to hear what you have to say about all this. And as I always say, I greatly appreciate you, and I hope you have an amazing rest of your day.